Good morning. We're going to talk today about organisational design, and we're going to talk around the subject of organisational design because it's big and probably outside the scope of this particular video. But we're going to talk on the subject of organisational design and how to make some confident decisions around that subject. Just to refer you back into other videos that we've done and the general philosophy that we've got for talent management, and it's based around the acronym ASPIRE, and the A stands for acquisition, the SP is for succession planning, the I is for improvement and training and development, and the R and E is for retention and engagement. This is all about looking at your talent, your high potentials in your organisation. And ASPIRE, we say, is it's the power to make confident people choices at all stages of its organisational design or business growth. So it's bringing that confidence into the organisation. So for today's video, we're going to start with first who, then what. First who, then what. We take that straight from this book which we've paid reference to before. It's Good to Great by Jim Collins, and again, turn a page and there's a nugget of wisdom in there, and we don't feel in any way, shape or form that we can't use this. It's great information. So this is one of the key principles that he talks about in the flywheel, and first who, then what. So first who, then what does that really mean? I mean, just start looking at which people you need in the organisation. And for us, we'll just turn that around a little bit. And this has to be talent, the high potentials in your organisation, or the critical and key roles in your organisation.
So that's when you're talking about the who, you're talking about the
this
talent,
is the
high
who.
potentials.
Yeah. And we would see what we do in ASPIRE is all about the who, all right? Acquisition of the right talent. Succession planning of the right talent, improvement and development of the right talent, retention and engagement of the right talent as well. And these are going to be around your critical and key roles. So we focus on that, the who in the organisation.
Okay, so in terms of the context of it is, if you get the critical and key roles right, with the right people in those roles, they'll take care of the rest.
Potentially take care of the
Yeah.
rest. Yeah. So you've got the right people in your organisation, or the right talent in your organisation to affect the right types of changes. And the other sort of little phrase that comes out from Good to Great as well, it's the right people or right talent in the right seats on the bus. Okay, and what we like to see as well is that previous videos we talked about 3 V's.
Yeah.
And if you look at the talent wheel, which we'll have that on screen, and the talent wheel, we've got 3 V's right in the centre of that talent wheel. We've got culture design, which we've just done a video on that as well. It's in the next circle in the talent wheel. And now we're talking about organisational design. So 3 V's in cultural design, we see that as being the 3 V's, your North Star, your guiding light. That's where you're going in the long term. You've got a long-term destination.
That's where your bus is heading.
That's where the bus is heading. The cultural design is really what's the shape of this bus?
It's the atmosphere on the bus.
The atmosphere on the bus, yeah. Is it a good fun there? Is it a great place to work? And you've heard all these phrases before. So, yeah, the bus really becomes that cultural design. So we've been through that as well. So first who and then what. So there's a little bit in between. So once you've got the people you need, and it's getting them on the right seats. So the right seats really is that organisational design. So there's an element of that sitting there. Now, it's easy for us to say, and it's easy to flick through books and things, that makes sense. The challenge is how do we get the right talent and the right people on the bus and on the right seats? It's not always easy to do. It can be complex, depending on the size of the organisation. So it can be complex, and it starts to broach that subject of organisational design. How many seats do I need? What do the seats look like? What positions are there? What's the roles and responsibilities? It starts to open up a level of complexity.
Because I guess you could have the right people on the wrong seats. So you just
Yes.
need to move people onto different seats.
Yeah, and you can also have the wrong people.
And the wrong people, full stop.
And the wrong seats as well.
Yeah.
So And again, a recommendation from Good to Great and Jim Collins, that if you've got the wrong people on the bus, then it's your duty to get them off the bus, okay? Because you're not going to get to the destination. You're going to achieve your vision. So there's lots of complexity around that. So getting the right people on the bus and in the right seats, it can be complex. It starts to broach that subject of organisational design. Now, for us, we are not today recommending a full onslaught of organisational design. It's big, it's complex, and it's only to be done if it's needed. Yeah. So the question we're going to ask today is, if you feel you've got the need to change your organisation, then really start to think about what's driving that need to change. Do you fancy doing it? Do you fancy disrupting? Or is there a real need to do this and identify that need? Then probably the question that you should be asking yourself is, well, if there's a strong need there, well, is my business model changing? And what business are we in now? You could be changing, could be subtle, but significant enough that you need to change your organisational design. So what business are you in?
Well, it forces you to go back to your 3 V's as well. What is your vision? What are your values? What's that visual representation? So what is the North Star?
And sometimes it can be a feel that the owner of the business, the founder or the CEO has got that. It's time for a change now. But let's assume that's not the case. Let's assume that we're going to go through a structured approach to thinking about, there is a change needed. How are we going to affect that change? So what we're going to look at now is what we call the McKinsey 7S model. It's been around since the 1970s. Tom Peters and his crew developed this. It's a nice model. The model essentially is a set of elements which are all interrelated. And that's a key word here. They're all interrelated. Change one, it has a relationship with the other and can change the other as well, or the other may need to be changed. And the concept says you should try and keep these in balance. Again, not easy to do, but the philosophy's there, the model's there. Keep these things in balance. Now, the model, Trevor's going to explain more details on the model, but there are 7 elements. There's 4 softer or gentle elements and 3 hard dynamic elements. So let's have a look at that first. And this will give us the insight as, do we need to change the organisation, or is there something else which is affecting that change?
Well, it can be useful if you're looking to move from your current situation to the future situation.
So what business am I in? If that's a key question there.
Absolutely.
If I'm changing my business from there to there, let's use the 7S model to help
and there's lots of different reasons why you might want to move from the current to the future, as in you're changing slightly what business you are in. It might be growth, which is extreme scale up, which is going to change your business naturally. So there's lots of different reasons why you might move from current to the future, and it does just give you, the model does just give you a real structure to help you change. So just a little bit of detail, as Lindsay said. A couple of guys, Tom Peters and Robert Waterman in the 70s, were at McKinsey at the time. So it's known as the McKinsey 7S framework or model. You'll be able to see behind the 7 key elements. Again, as Lindsay mentioned, the 7 elements are split. So 3 hard elements, if you like, so the more dynamic elements, which are looking at strategy, structure and systems. The more gentle, softer elements, it's the shared values, so you'll see that sits right in the middle. Skills, style and staff. So what does that really mean?
I think just a point there, just to show the reference. Structure, we see that as being the organisational design. So what structure you need in your business, and as you can see now, it's one of 7 elements.
Exactly.
So don't just change organisation and not think about the other elements.
Absolutely, because as you said, it is interrelated, but it's like sort of all the little cogs working together. If you turn one, it's going to impact the others as well. So they're all interrelated. It's a dynamic situation with the 7 elements.
It is,
so some softer ones, some gentle ones to consider. The shared values sit in the middle. So just a little bit of a definition, I guess, for each element. to help you appreciate what we're talking about with each of the 7. So strategy, this is your organisation's plan for building and maintaining a competitive advantage. Structure, it's about how the company is organised, sort of thinking about the departments, the teams, how they're structured, etc. Who reports to who, that type of stuff. Systems, really that's the daily activities and procedures that the staff have to go through to get the job done. So what systems and processes have you got in place? The shared values, as we mentioned, sits right in the middle. So these are the core values of the organisation. We've discussed this in previous videos, and we've looked at 3 V's and other types of things around the organisational culture. So we've done quite a bit on values and behaviours. So the shared values are the core values of the organisation. So the general work ethic. So they're the shared values. Style, really that's the style of the leadership. What style that leadership is going to adopt within the organisation. The staff, the last 2 here, staff and skills. Got to make this really clear. The staff element is about the employees and their general capabilities. So the core capabilities of the staff currently. The skills is the actual skills and competencies of the organisation's employees. So you can imagine if you've got the current staff with a particular core capability, if that doesn't match the future business, then the skills element is going to be much more relevant in what you need to do to increase the capability of the current employees. So again, that's another example how each one of these cogs or elements can affect the others. So that's a quick sort of definition of each one. And obviously just having the model is not going to change anything. The important thing, almost like a brainstorm if you like, is to ask yourself a series of questions around each of the 7 elements to help you get a picture, almost like a diagnostic of where you currently are, with a view to then having certain actions to where you want to be in the future. So I'm not going to go through them all. We can share through a link, a checklist if you like, so you can do a diagnostic yourself. It's got the full sort of set of questions linked to each of the 7 elements. A couple of examples, the strategy. So what is your strategy? Seems like a pretty obvious one. So how do you intend to achieve your objectives? Another one, how are you going to deal with competitive pressure? And there's some other ones in there. Structure, how is the company or the team divided? How have you split up each element or each function? What's the hierarchy? Have you got an organisational structure in place? Systems, you might want to consider what controls and how do you monitor and evaluate the various systems and processes. Shared values, what are the core values? Have you aligned the expected behaviours with each of the core values? Looking at style, how effective is the current leadership style? Do the employees and team members tend to be competitive or cooperative? Have you got a collaborative leadership style? So there's lots of questions you can ask around the particular and current leadership style. Looking at your staff, what positions are represented within the team? So looking at specialists, if you like, what specialisations are represented, what positions need to be filled, looking at gaps and required competencies. Again, we've spoken in previous videos about what we call behavioural competencies, so that might be useful for you to have a look at as well. And the last one, skills. We mentioned before, it's aligned with the gaps really, with the employees and staff that you've got. What are the strongest skills represented in the company or the team? Do your current employees have the ability to do the job? Have they got that core competency to actually develop and change? Lindsay mentioned earlier, sometimes you might have the wrong people on the bus and you might have to accept that they're not the right people. And going through some sort of diagnostic and assessment can help you understand and appreciate what that core competency level is. So that's just some definitions based on the 7 elements and some questions you could ask. But as we mentioned, you can get a full checklist that we'll share the link for you to get.
Okay, thanks, Troy. That outlines the theory of 7S, and we've moved from the subject of organisational design into the subject of 7S, McKinsey 7S model, which organisational design is part of that.
Yeah.
So all these moving parts, it's important to know why we want to make a change, and look at the impact of that change on all of the elements. Keep your business in balance, keep it in harmony. It's probably worthwhile just throw a few examples into the mix here. When organisations are looking to make some changes, we've said before, a good question to ask is, what business are we really in? And I know Tony Robbins runs a huge workshop on business mastery, and that's one of the key fundamental questions he'll ask the business leaders. So what business are you in? And it's at times very difficult for a business owner or a leader to really to vocalize that, to put it into words. What business are you really in? And if you don't know that, then maybe your strategy, maybe your organizational design, McKinsey 7S model is not fit for purpose. So there's a couple of examples, people we've been working with, clients we've been working with. Now you can take a law firm. Now, a law firm, what would you expect to see in a law firm? We see a bunch of lawyers.
Yeah.
But if they now say, oh, we're not just a law firm, we want to be, for example, a professional services business. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, certainly it's probably not the same business as what it was. So the strategy and skills, etc., are going to be different.
And not just the organisational design.
And not just the organisational design. Yeah.
So if a law firm becomes a professional what professional services do you want in there? It might be some accounting services, it might be some talent management services, it might be some HR services in there. So you can see the skills and the staff are going to have to be slightly different.
Absolutely.
Might just be a little tweak to the organisation, might not be a wholesale change.
Yeah.
So it's understanding where the changes need to be made to really drive the business objectives.
Yeah. Another example, Lindsay, as well, just before we move on, is one organisation in particular we've been working with. It doubled in size in a very short time. So the need that they had in terms of the structure, etc., is very different to what they need now. And they've just went through a period of organically changing without actually considering the structure. So they're going through a lot of pain in probably in all 7 elements. Just surely because of they've scaled up in such a quick time.
So the business can be it's the same type of business, it's just 5 times the size or twice the size. So would that necessitate any changes? And a great thing to do is to run those changes through the 7S model. And if organisational design is what you need, great. If it's skills, if it's shared values, you'll find out what needs to change to affect that change for the future business.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, we did say at the start of this that if you're in that place now where it really is about organisational design, it's beyond the remit of this particular video. We may do a longer form later. What we'll do, we'll refer you to an article we've found. We've done some research, and it's from PricewaterhouseCoopers, 10 Principles of Organisational Design. I'm not even going to read through that. We'll just share the link with you. It gives you a lot more detail into 10 things that you can do to ensure you get it right. And part of it as well, look further links in there, it'll tell you about the different types of organisational design as well. So for us, we're just going to refer that on if you're into that level of detail. But for us at the moment, we're saying have a look at your business is changing. Organisational design might be it, but first who, then what. And organisational design is a link between the two. So to close out for today, the call to action, the advice that we would give you is that keep checking what business you're in. I think it's a great question to ask. Doesn't matter what size business is.
We ask ourselves on a regular basis.
Absolutely, yeah. What business are you in? We've been branded as a training organisation in the past, and we do some training. it's a small element. It's part of their improvement package
Yeah.
in the whole talent management suite that we offer. But that's about how you communicate to the outside world, so the shared values and what we're telling the world about who we are. So what business are you in? Because we're in a training business, and we wouldn't be now doing a video on organisational
Yeah.
development linked to talent management.
Yeah,
Could
well, it's
be-
back to our 3Vs. We've shared the roadmap in previous videos when we looked at our 3Vs, and our vision is unleashing people's potential. And training might be part of that, but that overarching vision for us is unleashing people's potential.
Absolutely, yeah. So what business are you in? Keep asking the question, and the clearer you get on that, and the clearer you can be on your strategy, who you need in the business, what type of bus you need, and where you're going. Look at Aspire. Aspire's acquisition, succession planning, improvement, retention and engagement. It's the full talent management life cycle. It's about people, it's about the who. Yeah. Look at your 3Vs. Look at your 3Vs in the sense of that is your long-term vision, your guiding light, your North Star. Where are you going in 3-5 years' time? And also the culture design, which is really starting to shape the bus and the atmosphere on the bus. Okay. And then thirdly, pass through your changes, pass it through that 7S model. Ask the questions, use the checklist to say the impact of this change, what is it? Yeah? And it might just be a little tweak you've got to make the organisation, or it might be a wholesale change to the organisation. Do the due diligence. That's a good phrasing to bring at this stage. Do the due diligence. That's my business now. This is what needs to be in the future. Do the checklist. What does that mean to my business?
Yeah, and the 7S model is one model. There's lots of good models that you can use. We'll perhaps talk about them and share them in some future videos and articles. But certainly that's one we find it's got a good structure and comprehensive when you're moving from the current business to the future desired business.
Yeah. And I think models are good because they really bring complex subjects into it. So one page, one diagram, and start to bring a slightly different narrative to the organisation. Gives you a chance to share that narrative quite easily as well. So thank you for your attention, and we'll see you in our next video.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.